Hey guys, welcome back to the All In podcast. I am back hosting today. I missed an episode. I was away for sister's wedding, so congrats to my sisters. Cool vibes down there, but family call. So every once in a while, you got to take an episode off. Eli held it down for me. It's good to see you, man.
You too, man. We missed you, man. We had Sean come on and fill in for you, but we certainly missed your take on the Champions League final in the last episode.
Yeah, I missed it too. I missed being able to watch it for sure. I was on an airplane actually as the game was going on, and then I had landed, and then you guys had just finished your live show. But we have a lot to talk about today on this episode, and we want to start with just some exhausting news, some frustrating news. We saw another black man shot at the hands of police this week in Jacob Blake, shot 7 times in the back. I believe as of now, he has survived. I believe he is right now paralyzed from the waist down. They're hoping for a recovery. But Eli, I'm going to turn this to you, of course, to share your thoughts on this tragic event.
Yeah, man. I think obviously a lot that needs to be said about this has been said, especially, since we talk about sports. I thought Doc Rivers' interview last night was incredible. I felt every word of Fred VanVleet, and his pain, George Hill,
Yep.
As someone who plays for a team that's in Wisconsin where this happened, I felt all their pain, man. I really do. And it's upsetting, to be honest with you. Like it's becoming emotionally draining, man, and this is someone I don't know from a can of paint, lives in a completely other state than me. And it feels like, when does it stop? You know what I mean? When is it that, everybody finally gets on the same page and is like, okay, there has to be a better way for police to handle these situations. Like, you can't tell me that 3 guys cannot subdue one unarmed person without shooting him in the back 7 times. Like, there's nothing you can tell me that 3 trained officers can't subdue that guy for whatever reason that they needed to without killing him or almost killing him and paralyzing him and changing his life forever for not only himself but his family and his kids. You know what I mean? They're going to forever be responsible for him because he may not ever be able to walk again because of officers, trigger happy police officers. Let's just keep it a bean. There's just no reason to use your gun there. He doesn't have your life is not in danger. He's not trying to fight you. He didn't pull out any weapons. The man was literally just trying to leave and go home after breaking up a fight. He didn't even do anything wrong. And what makes it 10 times worse is, you get on social media, you see the videos that people are tweeting out and talking about how disgusting it is. And there's people like right under in the comments talking about, well, if he would just comply, this doesn't happen. Well, there's so many things wrong with that stupid ass statement. And I don't curse a lot on this show, but it's so many things wrong with that dumb ass statement. And one of them is not complying with police officers is not a damn death sentence. Ever. Whatever crime you commit is not a death sentence where police officers get to be judge, jury, and executioner. That's never been the case. So why do racists always bring that up? Oh, well, if he would just comply, he wouldn't be shot. The other thing is, that's not fucking true. Breonna Taylor was killed in her sleep. So we can comply. We can do everything we're asked to do. George Floyd had a knee on his neck for 8 minutes and was completely subdued and had a knee on his neck for 8 minutes and was killed. So you can't say that if we just comply, sure, yeah, maybe it lessens the chances of us getting shot. But Philando Castile was complying as well when he informed an officer that he had a registered firearm and was reaching to get it as the police officer asked him to, and then got shot right after in front of his kids. So don't give me that BS excuse. Please stop it. It's not valid. It's your way of trying to blind yourself to the clear, obvious racism that is in these police departments everywhere. Every police department has it. It's a disease. It's not a few bad apples. It's a shit ton of bad apples is what it is. And granted, I get it. There are good cops. I understand that not 100% of police officers are bad. But in a job where people's lives are at stake, you can't have bad apples, period. You can't. You can't have anyone with unconscious bias against black people because people lose their lives that way. That's like a pilot not being able to land a plane or having an alcoholic pilot. You can't have that. People die when shit like that happens. People die when there are bad apples in your police department. And the other biggest problem is if there's truly good cops out there, all those good cops would be condemning this. Because that, in no way, shape, or form, should have resulted in that altercation, I don't care what anyone says, should have resulted in 7 shots in the back, period. I don't care. There's no excuse. So it's just exhausting, man. It's exhausting. Yeah. It's exhausting to read these people's comments on social media. I'm trying all that I can today to just stay off of social media because I was up at 3 a.m. last night because I got triggered by a comment I saw on a tweet. And it's because it's exhausting to know that there's people out there that still don't get it. It is. It honestly is. People who can't check their own privilege and realize that this stuff is disproportionately happening to black people. Sure, has a white person unjustly been killed by a police officer? Probably. But how often do you get it on camera? Not much. Why? Because you don't feel the need to record every action that you have with a police officer. That's why. So I need people to understand that this absolutely is a race issue. It is. And whether it's, and by the way, racism is not just, oh, when I see a black person, I cringe. You know what I mean? Like or I consistently call people the N-word. Like I think people have a false perception of what racism is. No, racism can be unconscious. It can be something that, because it's so deeply rooted into America, you don't even realize you're a racist until we point out why what you're saying is racist. Right. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing with these police officers. So like, yeah, they might not even have a history of violence against black people, as police officers. But unconsciously, a lot of them do have the feeling that we are larger threats. Yep. To them, to their safety. And that's what makes them trigger happy. And that's what ultimately needs to change. And I don't know what's going to do it, man. And, I feel George Hill and Fred VanVleet, like they're talking about, the boycott and boycotting the Boston Celtics and the Raptors have been meeting about boycotting the playoff game. And like, I feel them, like I can't work because of this shit, man. Like it stresses me out that much. I can't focus because it's so, like I said, it's so emotionally draining. It's hard to do anything else. It's hard to show up to work day in and day out, knowing this stuff is going on. And I feel them. So I can see why they might not want to play a game after watching something like that. That's trauma still. You watch a video like that is trauma. Watching someone die or almost die. So I get it. Now, is it going to change anything? No, unfortunately, because, the people watching basketball right now already get it. So you're not convincing anyone else, you know what I mean, that this is an issue. We already know that your audience is heavily on the side of Black Lives Matter. And the people that aren't are boycotting the NBA anyway. So they're not going to see it. They're not going to care. They're going to, so unfortunately, I don't know how much change it's going to make, but I feel them. As far as like not being able to focus and show up to work. I 100% understand. And it's sad. And I patiently await the day that this is resolved, this issue. I know it's going to take a while, unfortunately. But God, it is exhausting waiting for that day.
Yeah. And, when you talk about the players, I think you do bring up a good point with the trauma that it causes. It's not just that they want to sit out to potentially protest something or to potentially say that something needs to change or we're not playing. It's also that, like, this is trauma, and it's not just trauma for the guy who got shot, who may never walk again, who very well could have died, or his family who had to watch him get shot. Is also trauma for every Black person in America, because, and that's what, as a white sympathizer, you can never quite grasp. You can never quite grasp of seeing on camera, someone who looks like you being terrorized by the police. And that's what Black people have to deal with. And you mentioned the people on Twitter and social media who are justifying this somehow. I wish that I could say it's just them. I wish I could say it's just these stupid people. I mean, Lindsey Graham is a freaking senator. And he was on camera today saying, I just wish that guy would have just complied. Why didn't he just, there is no death sentence ever for anyone who doesn't comply. And to say, and here's the thing, and we talk about these subconscious biases. The only reason that this cop, would shoot him in the back 7 times is if he thought that guy was going into his car to grab a gun or to grab something to attack him. But, why would he think that? Why would he assume that someone is going to grab a gun and kill him? It's because he has a subconscious fear of Black people, and he's been taught that over history. He's been taught to fear Black people subconsciously now, and maybe that's part of his police training. And he shot him in the back because of a subconscious fear of Black people. And so that's something that has to be addressed in the police department. The other thing is, and I've talked about this before, why is there even a gun in the situation? Yeah. Why does he answers a call, or he's patrolling by, he sees people fighting, arguing, and it looks like it's breaking up. I think the fight was really between his kids. It wasn't like a serious brawl or anything.
Right.
And so why even bring a gun to that situation? It just doesn't make any sense at all, and it's so illogical. And so yeah, for me, it's very tough. I will ask you. So then you talked about the players. Then, do you think it would be the right move? You talk about this Boston-Toronto series, and a lot of the players are talking about sitting. And the NBA has actually seen this before. Back after Martin Luther King got killed, there was discussions with the players who had discussed sitting out the All-Star game, and then eventually the playoff games. They had talked about sitting out, and eventually it came down to Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell were the ones that decided, as it often does. These stars in the NBA are it's such a position of power in the communities. They decided to play. Do you think that they should play, or do you think they should sit out?
I would probably say postpone it. You know what I mean? Push the games back a couple of days and give them some time to grieve. Because I think that's the biggest issue here, is that I think everyone needs time to grieve. I mean, Doc Rivers was crying last night in his interview. Mm-hmm. I'm holding him back now just talking about it because, again, it's traumatic, man. So, right. It's going to take a while to recover from seeing that and having no faith that justice is going to be served, because typically it's not.
Yep.
And, the other thing that I forgot to mention is that, the Wisconsin governor calls in 250 National Guard members to prepare for protests and riots. And to me, it's just dude, we wouldn't even have to protest or riot if we if you just arrest them. You know what I mean? And instead they get put on leave while an investigation goes on. That's going to take a while. Then hopefully, I don't see why they wouldn't be charged here, but hopefully we get some charges. And then we got to hope that the trial then pans out. That's going to take a year, man. You know what I mean? Close to a year for the trial to actually take place and then be convicted, possibly. You know what I mean? So it's funny that taxpayer dollars get spent on the National Guard having to come in, where you wouldn't even need them if justice was just brought swiftly to the police officers who tried to murder this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it would literally be that simple. But but yeah, back to the players. I would. I would sit. I wouldn't cancel the game. Maybe push it back. Sit out and let it be known we're sitting out because of what happened in Wisconsin, what continues to happen all over the country, and make it known so the conversation still continues. Even though I don't think that's the issue, I think that every day I scroll up and down my timeline and see people arguing about it. About this issue, just systemic racism in general. I see it every day, even when someone doesn't get shot. So, I don't think that's the issue. I don't think they've distracted anyone from the conversation. And I think they've actually done a wonderful job of keeping the conversation going while they're there. So I do want to commend them for that and let them know that we appreciate everything that the NBA has done since they started in the bubble to try to continue to do that. But go ahead and sit, recover. And, basketball can always be picked back up, at a later time. But, right now it's just, they need time to grieve, and I get it.
Yep. I get it too. And whatever the players decide, we're going to all, at least on this side of the aisle where we can kind of support this cause, are going to side with them, whatever they decide. So we are going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we are going to talk about the Pacers firing head coach Nate McMillan.